dense forests of the Pacific Northwest, where towering evergreens cast shadows that seemed to swallow light itself, a simple hiking trip became the center of one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries in recent memory. What started as a routine solo adventure ended with a discovery that would haunt investigators for years to come. A camera containing photos that revealed someone had been watching, following, and stalking an experienced hiker through miles of wilderness. The question that remains unanswered to this day sends shivers down the spine of anyone who dares to venture into those woods alone. Marcus Chen was the kind of person you'd want beside you in any outdoor emergency. At 32, the Seattle-based software engineer had conquered some of the most challenging trails across Washington state, from the rugged peaks of the Cascades to the temperate rainforests of the Olympic Peninsula. His colleagues knew him as meticulous and methodical, traits that served him well both in coding and in the wilderness. Marcus never left anything to chance. He researched every trail, checked weather conditions obsessively, and always filed detailed hiking plans with the ranger stations. His gear was top tier, his preparation flawless, which made what happened next all the more disturbing. On October 15th, Marcus set out for what should have been a routine 3-day solo hike through the remote Gifford Pinchot National Forest, a familiar territory he'd traversed multiple times before. The Boundary Trail was Marcus's go-to escape from the digital world, stretching 26 miles through some of Washington's most pristine wilderness. It offered the perfect balance of challenge and solitude he craved. His plan was straightforward. Start at the northern trailhead near Mount Adams, hike south for 3 days with 2 overnight stops at designated backcountry sites, and emerge at the southern terminus where his car would be waiting. Shuttled there by a trail service he'd used many times before. He'd done this exact route twice before, once in spring and once in late summer. The October timing was deliberate. Fewer crowds, stunning fall colors, and cool temperatures perfect for long-distance hiking. Marcus had informed his roommate of his plans, left detailed itineraries with the Forest Service, and even shared his GPS coordinates with his emergency contacts. Every precaution had been taken. Every detail had been planned, yet somehow Marcus Chen would never reach his destination. When Marcus failed to check in at the southern trailhead on October 18th, the alarm bells started ringing immediately. His roommate contacted the authorities within hours, knowing that Marcus's punctuality was legendary. He'd never been late for anything in his adult life. The Skamania County Search and Rescue Team launched their operation at first light on October 19th, deploying teams along the entire length of the Boundary Trail. What they found defied all logic. Marcus's campsite from the first night was exactly as it should be. Tent properly secured, fire ring used correctly, no signs of disturbance. His second planned campsite, however, told a different story. His tent was there, partially set up, but abandoned. His sleeping bag was unrolled, but unused. His backpack sat upright against a tree, meticulously organized as always, but missing one crucial item: his camera. It was 3 miles further down the trail where a search dog made the discovery that would transform a routine missing person case into something far more sinister. The Nikon D750 was Marcus's prized possession, a professional-grade camera he'd saved months to purchase. He'd taken it on every major hike, documenting the Pacific Northwest's beauty with the skill of someone who truly understood both technology and nature. When the search team found it partially buried under a pile of wet leaves 50 yards off the main trail, their first thought was relief. Cameras contain GPS data, timestamps, and most importantly, photographs that could reveal exactly what had happened to Marcus. The camera's memory card was intact, protected by the weather-sealed body that had kept moisture out despite 3 days of Pacific Northwest drizzle. As investigators carefully extracted the SD card back at the sheriff's station, they expected to find typical hiking photos, scenic vistas, wildlife shots, maybe some selfies at notable landmarks. Instead, they discovered something that made seasoned investigators question everything they thought they knew about this case. The first images were exactly what you'd expect from an experienced nature photographer. Marcus had documented his journey methodically. Sunrise shots from the trailhead parking area, misty forest scenes as morning fog lifted from the valleys, close-ups of autumn leaves in brilliant reds and golds. The timestamps showed he'd maintained his planned pace perfectly during the first day, stopping regularly to capture the kind of images that would make any outdoor magazine jealous. His technique was flawless. Proper exposure, sharp focus, compelling compositions that spoke to years of practice. Photo after photo showed the serene beauty of the wilderness, the kind of pristine landscape that draws people away from civilization to find peace in nature's embrace. But as investigators scrolled through the chronological sequence of images, they began to notice something that made their blood run cold. In the background of photos taken during his second day on the trail, something or someone began to appear. It started subtly. Photo number 47, taken at 11:23 a.m. on October 16th, showed a stunning vista of the Cascade Range stretching endlessly toward the horizon. Marcus had positioned himself on a rocky outcrop to capture the layered mountains fading into blue-gray distance. But when investigators enhanced the image digitally, zooming into the dense forest behind Marcus's position, they spotted something unsettling, a dark shape among the trees that didn't quite belong. At first glance, it could have been a shadow, a broken branch, or natural forest debris, but the shape had structure, verticality, a suggestion of human form. The investigators ran the image through enhancement software, adjusting contrast and sharpening details until the truth became undeniable. Someone had been watching Marcus from the tree line, staying just far enough back to avoid detection by the naked eye, but close enough to keep their target in sight. This wasn't a random encounter with another hiker. This was surveillance. As the team continued through Marcus's photo collection, a chilling pattern emerged. Every few images revealed the same mysterious presence, always maintaining distance, always staying partially concealed, but consistently there. Photo 51 showed the figure further back, barely a speck among the trees. Photo 55 captured what appeared to be the same person moving parallel to the trail, using the dense undergrowth as cover. By photo 62, taken during Marcus's lunch break beside a crystal-clear mountain stream, the follower had grown bolder, or perhaps more careless. Enhanced magnification revealed what looked like a human silhouette crouched behind a fallen log approximately 100 yards upstream. The figure appeared to be wearing dark clothing and possibly a hat or hood that obscured their features. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to be holding something, binoculars perhaps, or a camera of their own. Someone was documenting the documenter, stalking the stalker of scenic beauty. The photos from Marcus's final day told an increasingly desperate story. The timestamps showed he'd broken camp earlier than planned on October 17th, suggesting he might have sensed something was wrong. His usual leisurely pace had quickened noticeably. Instead of stopping every few hundred yards to photograph interesting subjects, he was covering ground rapidly, pausing only occasionally for wide shots of the trail ahead. But his pursuer had adapted to the new pace. Photo 73, taken at 2:17 p.m., showed the mysterious figure closer than ever before, no longer making any real effort to stay hidden. The enhanced image revealed someone wearing what appeared to be military-style camouflage and a dark cap pulled low over their face. They were following the same trail Marcus was on, maintaining visual contact, closing the distance with each passing hour. The body language captured in that frozen moment suggested predatory intent, someone hunting rather than simply hiking. The last 5 photographs on Marcus's camera told a story that investigators would never forget. Photo 76, timestamped 4:41 p.m. on October 17th, showed the trail stretching ahead into gathering dusk, but something had changed in Marcus's photographic style. The image was slightly blurred, suggesting haste or nervous energy. Photo 77, taken just 3 minutes later, captured a backward glance. The first time Marcus had photographed the trail behind him. The image was poorly composed, off-center, the work of someone more concerned with documenting a threat than creating art. But it clearly showed a figure on the trail approximately 50 yards back, no longer bothering with concealment, walking purposefully in Marcus's direction. Photos 78 and 79, taken in rapid succession at 4:47 p.m., showed the pursuer had halved the distance. The final image, photo 80, was the most chilling of all. Taken at 4:52 p.m., it showed someone less than 20 yards away, close enough that their features should have been clearly visible, but the face was obscured by shadows and the angle of their head, creating an anonymous, faceless threat frozen forever in digital memory. Despite having clear photographic evidence of Marcus's stalker, the investigation hit immediate roadblocks. The images, while disturbing, didn't provide enough detail to identify the pursuer. Enhancement technology could only do so much with distant, partially obscured figures photographed in challenging forest lighting conditions. The FBI's facial recognition databases came up empty. The subject's face was never clearly visible in any frame. Investigators canvassed local communities, showed the enhanced photos to outdoor gear retailers, and contacted hiking clubs throughout the Pacific Northwest. They issued public appeals for information, hoping someone might recognize the clothing, the gait, or some other identifying characteristic of the mysterious figure. But weeks turned into months with no credible leads. The forest had swallowed Marcus Chen without a trace, leaving behind only his camera and its haunting final images as evidence that something terrible had occurred in those remote woods. Marcus Chen's disappearance remains unsolved to this day. His body was never found despite extensive searches covering hundreds of square miles of wilderness. The case files remain open, the photos continue to haunt investigators, and the questions multiply with each passing year. Was this a random encounter with someone harboring violent intentions? A planned attack by someone who knew Marcus's hiking patterns? Or something even more sinister? A predator who stalks the remote trails of the Pacific Northwest, choosing victims who venture into the wilderness alone? The Boundary Trail remains open to hikers, but those who know the story of Marcus Chen find themselves constantly looking over their shoulders, wondering if they too are being watched from the shadows between the trees. Because somewhere in those photos lies the answer to the question that refuses to fade. Who was following him in the woods?